Go.
The first thing light enters the eye through is the cornea. Its main job is to protect the eye and bend light to provide focus. Then the light passes through the pupil, which is a small adjustable opening. On the outside of the pupil is the iris. The iris is a colored muscle that dilates in response to light intensity and emotions. Behind the pupil, you will find the lens. The lens' main job is to focus on the incoming light rays and projects them back to the retina. The retina is the thin inner surface of the back of the eyeball. The retina can be involved in something known as accommodation, which is how the eye's lens can change and bend to focus near or far objects onto the retina. The last step of the process is the receptor cells gather sensory information from the light and activate the cells in a part of the eye called the optic nerve. The optic nerve is the nerve that carries neural impulses from the eye to the brain. If you go to the far back of the eye, you'll find the fovea. The fovea is the central focal point in the retina. It is focused around the eye's cone clusters.
The occipital lobe is one of the four main lobes located in the cerebral cortex as a visual processing center of the brain. Feature detectors are on top of the occipital lobe. They are nerve cells in the brain that respond to specific features of the stimulus, such as shape, angle, or movement. The visual cortex is part of the cerebral cortex that receives and processes sensory nerve impulses from the eye. Other things related to the eye that are not shown in our Plato model are the trichromatic theory and opponent process theory. The trichromatic theory is the idea that the retina contains three different color receptors, red, blue, green, and when they are stimulated in combination, they produce the perception of any color. On the other hand, the opponent process theory is the idea that opposing retinal processes, red, green, yellow, blue, white, black, enable color vision.
Go. The blind spot is right in between the optic nerves. We have a blind spot when the optic nerve leaves the eye and goes to a place where there are no receptor cells located. Right about here are the bipolar cells. Bipolar cells are specialized cells that connect and transmit info from one eye's rods and cones to the ganglion cells that help make out the optic nerve. Once they get to the ganglion cells, they are transmitted to the brain for processing. Outside of the fovea, you will find the cone clusters. The cones are receptor cells that are concentrated near the center of the retina. These clusters function in daylight or in well-lit areas. They also detect fine detail. Another part of the eye is the rod. A rod is the retinal receptor that detects black, white, and gray. This part of your eye is necessary for peripheral vision and twilight vision. They do this when the cones do not respond. When the optic nerve fibers from each eye cross each other, it is known as the optic chiasm. The thalamus is the first place most sensory information goes to, which is right here. Once it gets to the thalamus, it is routed to the appropriate area of the cortex for processing.